Yeah. Together we learn, together we grow, together we heal, together we flow. Be cool, every teacher, every school. 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 Be cool, every teacher, every school.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Todd Scholl. I serve as the lead learner for the SCEA Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. We call ourselves COOL. You can find out more about COOL and everything we do on our website at cool.us. Just check it out right here, cewl.us or US, however you want to say that. Cool.us, cool.us. It's pretty cool. We've got lots of great resources, including all the live streams we do. Tons of information on our Cool Induction Institute. So if you're an early career educator, a lot of resources and support there. Yoga, nutritional information, wellness resources, trauma-informed resources, mindfulness resources, stuff on our mindfulness retreats. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So give that website, check it out. And of course, we wouldn't be here without the SCEA. If you're interested in joining our movement, you can go to this website, jointhescea.org. And the last thing I wanted to mention before we get started, a couple of things. One is if voting's coming up, obviously, I'm pretty nervous. I'm not going to lie. I think everybody who knows me knows why I'd be nervous. But coming up November 5th is the election day, but early voting's going on. And I just want to let you know about a couple of events. Members of the Horry County Education Association are going to be meeting, and they are going to, let's see, that is going to be this Saturday at 10 a.m. And they're going to meet at the Horry County Memorial Library in Carolina Forest. That's on Carolina Forest Boulevard. You can show support by wearing red for Ed. They're going to kick off the event with inspiring words, meet near the flagpoles between the rec center and the library, then get in line and go vote. And afterwards, once you've cast your votes, they're going to gather for brunch at Tavern in the Forest, a really great restaurant on the far end of Carolina Forest. And that will be covered by the SCEA. Ellen Giovinazzo is the UniServ District 3 field organizer. She'll be the primary contact for the event. And I want to remind folks in Horry County that the Horry County Education Association has recommended Michelle Green for Horry County School Board District 9 and Dale Ricketts for Horry County School Board District 11. Now, if you're in Greenville County, they're also going to be doing an event on Saturday starting, and both of these events start at 10 a.m. Similar type of an event, but this one is in Greenville County at McAllister Square, which is on 225 South Pleasantburg. Just go again, wear red for Ed, meet in the parking lot, go vote. And Terrell Brown is the primary contact for that event. And the Greenville County Education Association is recommending the following candidates for school board. Area 21, Angie Mosley. Area 23, Glenda Chapman Morrison Fair. Area 25, Michelle Caldwell. And Area 27, Missy Marsh. So please, if you are registered to vote, make sure that you vote in this election. It's important for all of us to participate in our democracy. And fingers crossed that things will turn out okay. So tonight we're going to be talking with a registered dietitian. You may know her from a series that she's done for us called Cool Bites. That's on the website, where she's provided nutritional tips, healthy recipes, and she was a part of our Educator Health and Wellness Day that we did with Circle of Rest and Columbia College in July. And at that conference, she did this session on gut health and anxiety. And some of you know that I've dealt with an anxiety disorder off and on for decades. I've used a variety of approaches to manage it, therapy, medication. And that's really how I came to learn about mindfulness is as a strategy for helping me with my anxiety. And another thing that I recently learned about was just how our nutrition can impact anxiety. And one of the things, this is just my personal story. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dietitian, but one of the things that I learned recently was that my B vitamin levels may have been low, and I was noticing my anxiety was kind of flaring up a little bit. And I started to address that nutritional issue by including more B vitamins in my diet and taking a supplement. And I noticed that it helped a lot. So I do think there's a strong connection, at least for me, between how I eat, what I eat, the quality of the food that I eat, and then how that impacts my overall mental well-being. So if you are struggling with anxiety, or you know someone who struggles with anxiety, I hope that you'll find tonight's session really informative and helpful. And there's no better person to bring on than Audrey Calianos. Audrey, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing so good. It's a lovely Thursday afternoon. I can't complain. Or early evening, I guess.
Besides being an amazing registered dietitian and the cool bites creator, what else should folks know about you? What would you like them to know?
What a fun question. I think when people hear that I'm a registered dietitian, they think that I'm going to be the food police and I'm going to tell them that I only eat tofu and vegetables, but that's definitely not true. I'll share with the group. I did have half of a frozen pizza for dinner really quick in between ending work and jumping on this call for dinner tonight. So would like to think I'm a very realistic dietitian. I understand that we have those nights or we have 10 minutes. What are we going to throw in the oven and make? And that's okay.
Yeah.
I live in South Carolina. I'm in the Charleston area, which is really, really fun. And I also, fun creative fact, I make jewelry. I love having a creative outlet. I think it's really important that amongst our work passions, we all also have something that helps us to indulge our inner child a little bit on the outside of our work hours.
That's a really good advice. And sometimes I think we get so busy we forget that part of ourselves, and then we lose connection with that playful, imaginative, creative part of ourselves because we're just so bogged down in dishes and laundry and work and everything, and we can forget that that's such an essential part of sort of staying young and vibrant and joyful. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So let's talk a little bit about gut health and anxiety. I thought your presentation was really well researched, and it's also just like really engaging and informative. So I'm going to let you just sort of take it away and let folks know what they need to know about gut health and their anxiety.
Oh, I love it. You might regret giving me the reins here. I am definitely a talker, so stop me if you have questions. But I guess for those in the audience, kind of starting with level one is understanding what is it in our gut that impacts our brain. I think a lot of us think that our gut is this like mucky, yucky thing at the lower half of our body, and our brain is this beautiful, lofty, the thought center. Like, how could those two things, like one handles waste, one handles like wonder, I guess you could say. So how could these two things even be connected? But if you think all the way back to when we were little embryos, like little babies developing, they split out of one thing, and they're connected in our body by something called our vagus nerve. Not to get too sciencey, but they are legitimately physically connected. And then they also have lots of hormonal connections. So they're kind of like texting all day long, as well as having a landline to each other as well in our systems. Yeah. Questions on that part, Todd, for the group?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, you introduced the concept of vagus nerve, and there's so much research around that. Can you unpack that part a little bit? Tell people a little bit more about the vagus nerve.
Yeah, it's like a very important nerve. It runs down like the middle of our system, and it's part of our, it's a kind of big word, our parasympathetic nervous system. So it helps to control functions like digestion or your immune system or your heart rate. But these things are all involuntary. Like, you don't really have to think about them. This nerve is working behind the scenes to control all of these things so you can focus on doing other things.
And are there different parts of the vagus nerve, or are they all? Is it just one thing? Like I've heard something about like the dorsal and the. I'm not super familiar with it. So
Ooh, that is a good question. I'm honestly not totally. My vagus nerve knowledge is definitely very like
okay,
looking at it as a whole and how it plays into our system, but
that's
it is really cool.
the sort of way the brain connects with the gut is through the vagus nerve. And I've noticed that like when I get nervous, I feel it. When I get anxious, I feel it in my gut. Like that's where I feel my anxiety. I feel it like in my gut. And sometimes, like if I just pat my gut, it kind of calms down. And I don't know if that's stimulating the vagus nerve or what that's doing. But it's really interesting because we think about anxiety or nervousness in the head, but I guess because it travels down that vagus nerve, feel it.
So we get butterflies in our stomach. Maybe that like anxiety, it's like letting you know that, okay, you feel like you should be feeling anxiety in your brain, but physically you're feeling it in your gut. Just like you said, goes to show that they are very, very connected. Or even thinking about intuition, people are always saying, oh, like trust your gut, like follow your gut. Like we get that, no pun intended, like gut feeling. We feel like we know something. So the two are always chattering, talking together, working together.
So tell me how what we eat and the sort of like the container, the gut, how that can become problematic for a person with anxiety.
Yeah. So definitely a little bit of a couple parts here. So
Okay.
the biggest part of our gut that impacts our anxiety, it starts with our gut microbiome. So for those that don't know what that is, because it was new to me until I got into the nutritional field as a kid, you don't really learn about that. I didn't learn about that in school. Don't know if they've changed that since back in my day. So what it is we have like more bacteria, like little bugs living in and on our bodies than we do like our own human cells. But we don't see them. We don't really think about them, but they're just at this huge magnitude. And that's part of why they can make such an impact on our body. And one of the books I was reading was like, well, if there's way more of them than us, then it kind of begs the question too of like, are we here for them or are they here to help us? Like we do kind of have a symbiotic relationship with them, whether we really know it or not. So specifically those ones that live in your intestinal tract. So the ones that are in your gut. So as we eat food, we break it down. And those little bugs are down there helping to break down all of that food. And they kind of decide what gets broken down or help to decide what gets broken down, what gets to pass through the intestinal wall into our system, what goes out as waste, what is made with what is coming into our system. So layer one is, okay, we have our little gut bugs in there, kind of working, our little worker guys working in there for us. And then they have to have the materials to do the work. So if we are feeding them, they love things like fiber. So that comes from like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, beans, things like that. Like they love fiber foods, high fiber foods. They love like minimally processed foods. So kind of thinking about just like a healthy, I quotes around that word. I know healthy is different for everybody, but a well-balanced plate filled with, again, fruits, vegetables, nice, good, lean protein sources. They literally eat that stuff up and use it to make the signals, to make the building blocks for our brain to make some of our happy chemicals like our serotonin or dopamine, those kinds of things. So it's kind of like we're providing the fuel. And we also have the little workers down there. So we're in control of the fuel that's going in, changes the type of workers that we have. Thinking about like if you feed your construction crew like fast food, they're probably going to get a little sluggish after their lunch. They might not want to pick up and get working and get moving. Our gut's kind of the same way. We feed it fast food versus we feed it food, again, like if something that is going to be really fueling for us, much more apt to get a better product out of it. That was a little long-winded.
Good. Yeah, we got time. So yeah, take your time. So, okay, couple questions.
Yeah.
Let's start with this one. You hear a lot about prebiotics and probiotics and that kind of thing. You'll see like it on a yogurt thing, or you'll even see pills or whatever at Costco or Walmart, say prebiotics or probiotics. tell me a little bit about that stuff. Like why, what types of foods are prebiotic or probiotic? What's the difference between those two terms, and why, maybe supplements? What are we looking to do to optimize gut health and give those good bacteria what they need?
Yes. So probiotics are the actual bacteria. So that's where a probiotic, you're getting an actual little capsule with live bacteria in there.
Okay.
So, or from food, things like yogurt, but it has to be yogurt. It'll say on the back, like active culture. It's got to have that added in. Not all yogurts have that. Or like fermented foods like kimchi or sauerkraut can be an option. Even there are some pickles too that have it, but you want to look for products that aren't stored with vinegar. If it's like pickles and vinegar, the vinegar's healthy to eat, but it's kind of like a disinfectant and it kills off those bacteria. So probiotic foods are things, again, like yogurt, fermented foods. Those have the actual bugs that we then eat, versus a prebiotic, thinking pre is before, it comes before the probiotic. It's kind of like food for those bugs, which is why you'll see those maybe sold in tandem, or different benefits from the different products. So prebiotic foods are those high fiber foods. They also love like garlic and onions, but if you're eating a diet that's high in fiber, low in really refined processed products, you're giving it the food that they want. So I always encourage people, like, let's start with a dietary change. It's usually a little less risk of like side effects, or I know sometimes it might seem like it's going to be more expensive, but in the long run, a probiotic and a prebiotic can run you 100, 200. I've seen some that are like $300-$400 a month. Like they get kind of expensive. Oh yeah, they're very good at marketing them. So definitely is a time and a place. Like I do take a probiotic because I struggle with like some IBS, and it really helps work that through. But sort of like any vitamin or supplement, if you're having an issue, you have a deficiency, if you're having like some constipation or loose stools or something kind of funky, bubbly gut discomfort, something going on, and okay, we've made some food changes, added some extra water, gotten some walking in, and we're still having some trouble, that's where I think a probiotic or prebiotic could be really, really helpful as like a tool in the toolkit versus I'm just going to take this and it'll fix all my problems.
Right. So what we're trying to do is first of all, give the good bacteria that we do have the stuff that it likes to feed on, which is the prebiotics, so high fiber foods, and then fermented food, things like that. And then there's the fermented foods, and some of the yogurts are probiotic, and that we're actually introducing more of those good guys that can be sort of like allies to the ones we already have. So my next question is, I've heard you mentioned highly processed foods as causing harm to the good bacteria. I've also heard like alcohol and Splenda or sucralose. Is that correct?
Yes. So alcohol, and when I say highly processed, I mean things like, gosh, what's a good example? I don't want to like overdo like things like if you have like, oh my gosh, like a Twinkie versus like, I don't know if you guys know the brand, like Dave's Killer Bread or Ezekiel Bread, like both processed foods, but different products. Twinkie is like hyper processed, things that can like sit on a shelf for weeks and weeks and weeks and like don't go bad. Or you look at that ingredient list and you're like, what is this? Like if there's a lot of words on there, you're like, I don't really know what this is.
Right.
Sometimes those can be good products. It's kind of a tough world to navigate on your own sometimes, but looking for like minimally processed foods where you can look at it, you can read the ingredient list, understand what's in it, look at it and like see it and like, okay, I know what I'm eating. So foods like that are hyper processed. And yeah, alcohol. And then you mentioned sucralose, those fall under a category called non-nutritive sweeteners. It's an area that I get really excited about because I think it's really interesting. So things like Splenda, stevia, monk fruit extract, all these things where you can have a product that tastes like birthday cake, but there's no sugar in it. Or like erythritol, sorbitol, those are like called sugar alcohols. If it sounds like all when you say it,
right?
There's sugar alcohol. So if you're picking up a product and you're like, oh, look at this, like Oreo ice cream cake, and there's no sugar and there's only like 50 calories in it, you look at the numbers and it looks like a really great choice. It's low sugar, it's low calorie, it's high protein. You're like, oh, this is an awesome choice. You look at those ingredients and your gut doesn't love those ingredients. And it sometimes can become a little bit like counterintuitive. Like, yes, it's less calories and it's less sugar, but it can throw your gut out of whack, which can then exacerbate the health conditions that you're trying to mitigate in that moment.
So let me see if we can clarify a little bit, because like stevia and monk fruit are non-nutritive, but they're natural. And I know there's forms of stevia with the erythritol, and I try to stay away from that because of the recent studies that have shown erythritol is linked to heart issues.
Mhm.
But are stevia and monk fruit just in the raw better than, say, Splenda or sucralose or aspartame?
Definitely better than aspartame. This is one of those things where, to be honest, the science is still coming out. As somebody who has gut issues, or I'm working with a client that has gut issues, or is really struggling to lose weight and is like, I'm eating all the right things, I'm in a calorie deficit, I'm exercising, I'm doing all the things. That's where I kind of feel like really focus in on those two as another option, because the science is still kind of new on them and not quite as strong as it is for something like an aspartame or for some of the older school non-nutritive sweeteners. So if you're somebody who's like, I can't live without I need something sweet, but I have diabetes, or I really am trying to watch my sugar, then yes, like going for a stevia or a monk fruit could be a better choice for you. It's kind of thinking on them. It's like a spectrum. Like, it's hard to say like these are good or these are bad. It really does depend, like, person to person, and paying attention. Like, if you eat those things and your gut gets a little bubbly, or you get a little gassy, or get a little bit of constipation or weirdness going on, and you're like, like, I've had this for a while, can't really figure out what it is, it's worth trying to cut it out and just seeing if it makes a difference.
Okay. And what about, I'm hearing a lot lately about seed oils.
Mm.
Can you talk a little bit about seed oils? And I mean, is it too much hype that they're bad for you? Or do they cause inflammation? What's the deal with seed oils? I'm hearing so much about it, and then now I'm noticing, I'm reading all these labels. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's high oleic sunflower oil. There's soybean oil. There's all these different oils in products.
Mhm.
I didn't realize were there, and I'm like, well, that's a seed and it's an oil, and I'm hearing bad things about seed oil. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is where we get a little, like, a little background is like, so we have our healthy fats and our unhealthy fats. So healthy fats typically they're called unsaturated. So if you're looking at your nutrition label, there's usually unsaturated, saturated, trans fats. So those unsaturated fats are our healthy fats. They tend to be like our heart healthy. They're good for our heart. Not a hard rule, but a way to visualize it is they're usually liquid at room temperature. So things like olive oil, avocado oil, or if you get a peanut butter that you have to stir, that liquid oil at the top, versus our unhealthier fats are saturated on that label. Now, there is some research. These are not like a no-go, you can never have them, because there is research that saturated fat that's in things like if you get a really nice cut of meat, even some chicken has some saturated fat. So saturated fat from minimally processed sources. Saturated fat from a pork chop is a little bit different than saturated fat from like a breakfast sausage.
Right.
So when I say unhealthy, it's take that with a grain of salt, because it's not a hard rule, but it's an easy way to kind of like distinguish the two. So these things tend to be solids at room temperature, like a butter, or when you cook a meat and that fat sits, it gets a little bit solid. So what's interesting about these two fats is they're actually, if you look at them under a microscope, made up of the same ingredients. They just have a different shape. So your saturated, your solid fats are literally shaped like little bricks. So they stick and they stack up, and that's what clogs our arteries and causes high cholesterol and causes all some of these issues that we had, versus our flowy ones, our healthier fats, flow through our system. So starting there, because seed oils, if you're looking at your nutrition label, they're actually going to be on the healthy fat side. They're not usually always a completely saturated fat. So that's why they're in a lot of products, because it like comes off like, oh, this is like, it seems like a healthy choice. But within our healthy fats, get a little a little bit deeper here. There's like different types of healthy fats, and we're kind of supposed to eat these different types in certain ratios. So like your seed oils, like, or like even the canola oil, like kind of the oily ones. And then there's things like walnuts or salmon or like chia seeds, hemp seeds. So they're both good. They both play a part. But what happens is these seed oils, I think, they're just in so many products that we're just getting too much of it. And it tends to be in processed products. A lot of us cook, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I know typically clients come on, even if they don't know a ton about nutrition, they're like, oh yeah, I cook in olive oil. Like that's like a pretty, like we know that one's like a pretty good choice. So it's a similar thing. People like, oh, it's just like we don't really cook with them, but they kind of come into our diet in processed products. So it's, the science goes either way. It's like, oh, it's inflammatory, but it's also looking at, well, what's the package? What is it coming with? Is it coming on snacks, with a snack, or is it coming with, like, are you doing it on your vegetables, or doing it in a less processed, like snacky kind of a way? So it's when the ratio of these two fats, you get too many of the seed oils and not enough of the other side, and that ratio gets off, that is what can lead to like that inflammatory response, because healthy fats are usually really anti-inflammatory, but it's got to be in the right amounts. And then the second part is, it's what is that seed oil coming with?
Right. Okay. Now let's draw connect the dots to, okay, I want to improve the good bacteria in my gut.
Mm-hmm.
How does that impact anxiety? Like, how do we go from like not taking care of our gut health to feeling anxiety? Like how is that connected? Because for me, like when you explained it, but like when I went in, I'm like, how does that work? How can what's happening in my gut impact my anxiety?
Yeah.
Explain how that's connected.
Oh yeah, I love it. And it's ties in so many cool things. And I'm someone too, Todd, you shared, I'll share too. Like I've struggled with depression, anxiety in my life too. So learned about this in school, but also definitely lived it and felt it as well. So definitely takes a little bit of a long-winded explanation. So it starts actually with our immune system. So the majority, like 70 to 80% of your immune cells are actually in your intestinal tract, which it's not, I don't know where I thought they would be, but that is not exactly where I thought that they would be hanging out. But if you think about it, your like intestinal tract, we're kind of like a straw, like we're kind of like we have a hole from top to bottom. So it's actually exposed to a lot of outside bacteria, outside pathogens, and we're like breathing things in or swallowing, or when you're eating, like we were designed, evolved that like, okay, like we're going to eat stuff, it might have some germs on it. We got to have a system in there to take care of those germs, be sure that they just pass on through. So that's kind of where immunity is kind of step one, understanding that your immune system is actually really closely linked to your gut.
Okay.
And what that does is it helps to provide, so your gut microbiome come in as well. So your gut microbiome, your immune system, what they do is they're there like battling off those bad bacteria that are coming in, and they're keeping it in your intestinal tract so it passes through as waste. But if you have like little bacterias on your team, your microbiome, so the bugs that we want, your worker bugs, if you have them being fueled off of fast food, processed foods, just like when we eat those things, it's really hard to see results in the gym or go for a run, or we fall into like a food coma is like a common one we'll hear. They kind of do the same thing. They lose their edge. They're not as good at like fighting off the pathogens coming in from what we're eating or coming in from our environment. So things that our gut microbiome and our immune cells would normally be able to keep contained in our intestinal tract start to leak out. And that's where you'll hear something called like leaky gut. Like leaky gut and inflammation are two words that are tied really closely together. So leaky gut doesn't necessarily mean, oh my gosh, there's like physical holes that someone poked in my intestinal tract. It just means that our gut microbiome is not working to its fullest potential. It's not able to keep all of that stuff passing through as waste and sorting out the things that we want. So as the pathogens, the bad stuff comes in that we're supposed to just pass safely, normally as waste, starts to kind of creep in to our system. Our immune system is like, whoa, what is all this stuff? Like, well, let's go check it out. We got to go check it over here. What's going on over here? And it kind of like sends your immune system into overdrive, because it's always like cranking and going like, what is all this stuff? And that stuff might not necessarily be like bad. It's not you
Like,
know, not directly cause something wrong, but your body is like, what is this? What is going on? So it's constantly in the state of being revved up, like investigating, like burning the candle at both ends. It's like, what the heck is like in our system? What's going on? And that revved up state causes the inflammation in the body and can, so that then like gets us kind of revved up as well. And so immune system's going kind of haywire. Our microbiome, those little bugs, they're getting kind of lazy. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. So the food's not getting broken down the right way. And when we break our food down, I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, that creates the building blocks that are sent up to our brain to make our happy chemicals, to make things like serotonin, dopamine, those they're called neurotransmitters, so those things that float around in our brain that help manage our emotions. So if we have gut bugs down there that aren't doing their job, they're not cranking out those building blocks. And then our immune system is like in overdrive because they're not cranking out the building blocks, but they're letting all this other stuff seep through. It's not supposed to be there.
mm,
Immune system is flared up, our whole, we get inflammation in the body, and then we're not getting all the building blocks we need. So it's hard for our brain to then self-soothe and self-manage emotions.
wow. Wow. So one of the things that I discovered recently, I found out that I don't know if you heard me in the beginning, but I
Mhm.
found out that I'm probably I had a deficiency in the B vitamins. And one of the things that I was doing research on about that was sometimes your blood work can come back normal, that your B vitamins are normal, but you have a cellular deficiency. And one of the reasons why we would have a cellular deficiency, if you're taking a proton pump inhibitor with like Prilosec or Dexilant, it can reduce the stomach acid so much that the stomach acid isn't able to break down the foods into those to deliver the B vitamins to the cells, and then you can have a cellular deficiency. Can you talk a little bit about vitamins like vitamin B, magnesium, vitamin D, and the
Yeah.
role that they play in anxiety, and how that might be related to this gut health issue?
Yeah. And I want to preface, I know it might be like, oh gosh, like I got to eat vegetables and now I got to worry about all these vitamins. Like this is so much, it's overwhelming. But know that these vitamins come naturally
Right.
in these foods that we want to be eating. So for those in the audience that are maybe at a square one, like don't panic. Following like a general healthful diet will kind of naturally start to give us all these things. But sometimes, like in Todd's case, like maybe you're on a medication, or vitamin D is a really good example. I'm in sunny South Carolina now, but I used to live in Massachusetts. And when you live somewhere up north or somewhere really cold, you can't make vitamin D from the sun for the majority of the year. And
Right.
that sun is the main source of our vitamin D. Yes, we get some from like fortified products like milk or yogurt or things like that, but a lot of it comes from the sun. So sometimes different things we don't think about might cause deficiencies in these things, but for the most part, we're going to get the majority of what we need. So B vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, and vitamin E are some of our really, really important ones. I can't remember if I mentioned it today. So our brain is 60% fat. So kind of back to our fat discussion, that's part of why the amounts, the types of fats can also make such a big difference on our brain health. And vitamins D and vitamins E would make sense that they would impact our mental health because those are both fat soluble vitamins. So vitamins A, D, E, and K, when you eat foods with fat, that is how they get absorbed and work and stored in your system. So D and E kind of makes sense there that they are work with fat in our body in a really positive way.
Mm,
All of these vitamins B, C, D, and E help with immune function. We all know like vitamin C when you're sick or when it's cold or flu season. So that's part of where that immunity piece comes in. Like if you are boosting up your immune system, giving it some extra support, it's going to help it not feel so overwhelmed. So that's kind of where the vitamin C piece comes in. B, D, and E. So it's also a little bit of immunity, helping with inflammation, helping to keep your brain running the way that it wants to run. So not too in depth on it, but B, C, D, and E are four really important ones in terms of vitamins. And if you wanted to take even a deeper dive in there, our minerals, some big players are calcium, zinc, magnesium, and iron. But a lot of these foods can be found in things like fortified dairy or nuts, seeds, dark leafy greens, whole grains. So all the things that I've been saying, if you're getting at least some of those things in your diet, you're already getting some of these vitamins and minerals.
So it's interesting. So for anybody who's watching who's dealing with anxiety, we traditionally think, well, we traditionally think that's a mental health issue. So I need to go to a psychiatrist or a therapist, maybe take some kind of medication specifically for anxiety to whatever it is. And what I'm finding out, and what I'm hearing from you, and feel free to just talk in depth about this, is that the anxiety may be coming from some type of nutritional deficiency or gut health issue, or at least that could be a huge contributing factor in the amount of anxiety and the intensity of your anxiety. Is that correct? And if so, like, explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's kind of like the way that our healthcare system works. Like we have a problem, we go to the doctor, and that's their job. The doctor is to give us something, so we walk out with something. So we felt like we have something to make us feel better. And a lot of times that's a pill. So don't get me wrong, I love my doctors. This is not like a bash on the healthcare system by any means, but diet tends to get overlooked. Like most doctors maybe have one nutrition class, which like
Right,
makes
right.
sense. They have a gazillion other things they need to learn. If you have a surgeon who's going to be cutting people open and doing open heart surgery, well, yeah, like nutrition might not be on the top of his learning list. Like he's got other things he's got, or he or she has got to learn. So it tends to be one of those things that just gets overlooked. I think also that the types of food that we're eating are so different. Like nutritional science is new in a sense to where we're like, oh, like we didn't realize that these products could be so damaging to our system. So I think it's one of those things that people are catching on that, oh, okay, like this is just another tool in the toolkit. I'm very for like, if you need a medication, there should be no stigma about that. You take a heart medication, diabetes medication, nobody bats an eye. It should be the same thing for mental health medication as well.
Yeah.
But knowing that nutrition is just like that extra thing in your pocket, just like journaling or exercise or yoga or hanging out, like having a pet, it's just one more thing that you have to say, you know what, like I can control this to whatever extent that is. I know for every person that looks and feels different, but looking at what you can do um, can then give you a little bit of that power back. Because again, if we're not giving our body the building blocks to make the chemicals that we need it to make, it's
Right.
even if you're doing all the right things, it can be really hard to like kind of push past some of these
Yeah.
hurdles.
So it's interesting how, like, people with heart issues go to the doctor and they understand, yes, I take a statin or a blood thinner, a beta blocker, whatever you need, a blood pressure pill, whatever for your heart. But they also kind of understand, hey, maybe I need to lay out the cheeseburgers and the bacon, and and try to eat more plants and a little bit lower fat, and just kind of watch the sweets and things like that. People kind of understand the connection between cardiovascular disease and their nutrition, but I don't think most people are thinking about the connection between their nutrition and their mental health. And I think that's why this, I think, conversation is really important, because people may try a pill, and like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, if your doctor tells you that's what you should do, certainly follow your doctor's orders. But if we're not, it's like if the heart patient is only taking the statin and then they're still eating the same garbage, they're going to probably end up with heart issues. And I would imagine that if your mental health issues are are caused by some type of nutritional deficiency, even if you take the pill, you still may not feel 100%. So it's like what you're saying. It's like, we need to put, if you're dealing with a mental health issue, putting everything on the side of the balance that's going to help you feel better. And that may be therapy. That may be, like you said, yoga, mindfulness. It may be a medication, but it also may be the food that you eat. It may be, getting more exercise and getting the food that you eat a little bit more balanced, less processed. And making sure you're getting all those nutrients that you mentioned earlier, because a deficiency in one of those, if you're just eating Doritos and pizza and Coke, you're probably going to have some kind of mineral or vitamin deficiency, and then your brain can't produce the serotonin and the dopamine at optimal levels. And if you're already struggling with that and then you're also not helping out nutritional with your nutrition. I mean, am I right about that? Talk
Yeah.
about
And
that.
even zooming out a little bit as well. So I work for a company called Dietitian Live, and we're really into behavior change because for those sitting in the audience going, yeah, okay, like maybe it's easy for me because I have like the health knowledge. I spent years studying this, but I know that it's not that easy. That's why when you go to the doctor, they give you the heart pill. Maybe you've seen a dietitian. You get like 10 minutes, you get like a handout that's like, here's what you need to eat. Or like we all have Google. We can go Google what should I eat? But here's, it might be reversed on here. You have knowing and doing, and building that bridge is so much more than just knowing the information. It's
Right.
really, really hard. So I want to validate those that are
Yeah.
sitting out there that are like, okay, yeah, like eat some broccoli. That sounds easy. But for me, I have kids or I have 2 jobs or I'm busy. I can't afford it. Whatever it is, I know everyone's coming from a different background. So understanding
Mhm.
that I know this is not as simple as it might seem on the surface. And I think that's a really important part too, is a lot of times what's on our plate is almost like a symptom of other things that are happening in our life. Like, are you a busy, I guess this is a school, like, are you a busy teacher and you are running around all day long? You're supposed to have a lunch break. You don't have it. Then you're grading at night. You don't have time to go cook dinner. Like, so it's not as simple for you as just, okay, we'll go pick out some vegetables. It's
Right.
a lot harder than that. So I think for people, it's understanding the information of the food, but as well as cutting yourself some slack. And when you're trying to make a diet change, look at the other aspects of your life because it's not always that simple.
Yeah, it's like a holistic approach. It's really looking at every different aspect, and sometimes when you do that, it can be overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, I got to start to exercise. I got to meditate. I've got to. When am I going to do all this? When am I going to grocery shop for all these vegetables and then chop them up and then cook these, healthy meals? It's just sometimes when you're so drained and stressed out, it's so much easier to just stop by Chick-fil-A or whatever on the way home and just grab whatever and then at night, you're just snacking on whatever's in the pantry instead of healthy stuff. So, and yeah, no judgment there. It's just like, if you're not feeling well, these are some areas for us to look at. And I know for me, it's made huge difference when I started to really look at my diet. Um, uh, can you talk a little bit about most teachers in South Carolina have Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Marcella asked about the services offered by Dietitian Live. Are some of these services covered by people's insurance? Because I think a lot of people are like, I'd love to go to a dietitian or a nutritionist, but I can't afford it. But does insurance help with that at all?
Yeah, so I could talk about my company all day long. I've never worked for a company that has so strongly stood by what I believe and helped me out professionally and personally so much. So we do kind of what I was just talking about. It's not just, okay, here's what you need to eat. It's a behavior change, holistic program. Like, I understand you're not going to come to my virtual door and I'm just going to hand you a meal plan full of tofu and fish and send you on your way. That's not what you want. We work one-on-one with you to make sustainable lifestyle changes. And to your point, Todd, yeah, we take Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and branches of Blue Cross. If you have like Anthem or, oh gosh, there's a couple other ones, branches of that. Medica, oh my gosh, there's a couple others. Cigna's another one. So we take all these insurances. You guys are welcome to sign up for an appointment. And what I really like to stress is this is a completely risk-free program. Your first session is always complimentary. You're not going to get a bill in the mail for that. We also believe that preventative care should be accessible for people. And it's a little ridiculous that sometimes insurance takes a really long time to decide if they're going to cover or how much they're going to cover. So with all of our clients, let's say you popped onto my schedule, we had a session, you had Blue Cross Blue Shield, great. I'll take your insurance information, I give it to my billers. They're really good at what they do. They'll battle it out with Blue Cross. We meet business as usual. We could have 10 sessions. And if Blue Cross comes back and says they're not going to cover your sessions, they're not going to cover a dime of our services, you don't owe any of us, you don't owe me, our company, a single dollar. It is truly,
Wow.
truly, truly risk-free. We do not backbill, a really, really firm commitment to that, because that's just what we think healthcare should be for people.
What's the website that people can go to if they want to?
I can send it in the chat. It's literally just called Dietitian Live. It should be the only one that comes up. I'm going to put the
Is it
link.
dietitianlive.com?
Yes, dietitianlive.com. And it's dietitian, DIETITIAN. Because you can do a T or a C, both are a correct spelling.
So wait, so it's not this dietitian? Is it, look, I just put that on there. Is that right or no? Or is it with a second?
With a T. So it'll be.
So dietitian,
Yes.
like this. Let's see if I got it this time. Did I get it right now? Dietitian.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay.
So if you have been listening to this talk and you're like, you know what, this was at least a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
This signs you up to a free hour-long session with somebody like me who's just as passionate about this. We're going to talk about, again, we focus on nutrition, but we're also going to bring in movement, sleep, stress. We have a really holistic, wider scope of practice that I think a lot of people are expecting to talk about when they meet with a dietitian. You'll do some goal setting, going deeper between, yes, you want to lose 10 pounds, but it's, okay, well, what about that 10 pounds? That's a number on the scale, which is great. Good marker of progress sometimes, but what is that going to bring for your life? Like, what are we building here? What are we working towards? And then you guys can talk about, what your journey together would look like. But again, regardless, if you say, you know what, this is not for me, it's a risk-free hour just to come try it out. Maybe you'll be on my schedule and we can hang out for an hour.
Yeah. So educators in South Carolina, if you're in a public school and you're watching this, you probably have Blue Cross Blue Shield. You can go to this website right here, and I'm not getting any kickbacks. I probably should I ask for some? No, I'm just kidding. So I'm not getting any kickbacks, but for real, if you can go to dietitianlive.com, set up a free hour session, even if you just do the 1 hour session, I think it's well worth your time. And then hopefully the insurance would cover more sessions. And I think it's well worth the time. It sounds like it's really well worth the time for people to get tailored advice, because everybody's body's different. We're all different ages, have different health issues. Maybe some people are diabetic. Some people want to be vegetarian. Some people, whatever, can get really tailored advice. And that's really important, I think, in this space. I think you probably agree that like everybody's different. And so the advice, there's some universal advice, like drink water, but like there's some things that maybe are tailored to people's specific needs.
Completely. And we are a jack of all trades. I have clients that are gaining weight, losing weight, pregnancy, newborn phase, senior clients. We have clients, we even take, like, if you have kids like under 8, not too young, but like if you have like a 16, 17, 18-year-old getting ready to go to college, that's like, oh gosh, like how do I eat by myself? We work with minors as well. So really, like, whoever you are welcome. We have a space for you. We would love to help you in any way that we can.
Yeah. And when we talk about self-care, this is a really great place to start. I mean, your physical body, I talk a lot about mindfulness and our mind, but there is this huge connection between body and mind. And I have found that when I start with mindfulness and I'm practicing mindfulness, then I'm more intentional and aware about what I'm eating and what I'm doing, like with my food, like, do I notice that I'm just kind of like rushing things, eating too fast? Am I eating too much? And just noticing when I am full. So there's that mindfulness piece is really important. But this diet piece also, from what you're talking about tonight, is also like, it's like we're talking about symbiosis. It's like if your mind is healthy, then you're more likely to have a healthy body. And if your body's healthy, you're more likely to have a healthy mind. So the two sort of work to prop each other up. And I think it's important, that peace and self-care. What have we not covered that you want to mention before we wrap up?
A little off the topic, but I do think really cool what you mentioned, mindfulness. I think language mechanics, the way that we speak to ourselves, speak about our food, about what's going on in our lives, something that I work on with clients, and honestly, just like in my own world, is if you're in the audience listening to this, is the way that you talk to yourself is really, really important. If you sit there and you get to the end of your day and you're like, I had pizza and ice cream today, it was a bad day, I'm a bad person, I did a bad job, I'm not doing good enough. If you start to equate your food choices to your self-worth, It's such an easy spiral to start falling down. The way that you talk to yourself is so important. So if you're feeling like, you know what, I'm not ready to see a dietitian, I'm not ready for all of this, start inward and just start
Yeah.
working the way that you talk to yourself about your food and your body, because it's not that easy. We have food companies out there that are manufacturing food to be addictive, impossible to put down. Again, you guys, everyone I think you ask is, for the most people, feel stretched thin. We're busy, whatever it is we have going on. So cut
Doritos.
yourself some slack. Yeah,
Doritos are so good, and
they're so good. Like, don't get me wrong, like I still eat Ben and Jerry's. I had a frozen pizza. Like I still have these things, these moments.
yeah.
But it's learning to have it, smile about it, and then think, okay, great, I had that, I enjoyed it. But now let's move forward. What choice can I make next that's going to get me towards where I want to go? Versus spending all this energy cycling in the
Yeah.
toxic stuff. If it's not helping you, if this talk is not serving you, don't waste your precious energy on it. Put that towards making a change, towards moving forward.
I think that's such a really important point. Yeah, I noticed myself doing that, and the cycle was, okay, I'm going to be really good now, and then I'm gonna lose some weight. I'm gonna be really healthy, and I sustained that for maybe a week or two, and then I'm at a Saturday. I'm at somebody else's house. They've got this M&Ms out. They've got pizza, and I'm like, well, I've been so good. I'll just do this one thing, and then that turns into a couple of days of off track. And then I'm feeling the shame, and then I'm stressed out, and then I eat more because I'm stressed out and feeling shame. And then after a week and I feel like crap, I'm like, all right, I'm going to clean it up this time. I'm really going to clean it up. And you just stay in that cycle. And I think it's almost counterintuitive, because we think we need to be hard on ourselves, and actually it's self-compassion and self-love that will actually help us make healthier choices, not self-judgment and self-hate. So.
I always ask myself, I think when I say positive and negative talk, I have some clients that are like, well, that's wishy-washy. Like, I'm not positive self-talk. Like, what do I want? So thinking about it as helpful versus unhelpful. Is what you're saying to yourself helping you in any way? If it's just making you feel like trash, it's not helpful. What can we say or do that is going to at least move you the direction and feel more helpful?
Right. Well, Audrey, thank you as always. It's great content. We appreciate it. Hopefully, folks tonight learn something that's important to them, and we'll connect with you at Dietitian Live right here at dietitianlive.com. You can meet with Audrey or someone like Audrey and get the advice that you need, and is covered by Blue Cross Blue Shield. So what's the risk? What's the harm? Give it a shot. And thanks as always for your time tonight. Appreciate it, Audrey.
Of course. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Everybody, that's Audrey Calianos, registered dietitian. And if you haven't checked out our website, go to cool.us, and you can see under content, there is a whole section called Cool Bites, and she's done a series of videos. She hasn't done them recently. She's been really busy with her work. But absolutely, you should check out those. There's healthy recipes and other nutritional tips. Along the same lines of taking care of yourself, if you are interested in learning more about yoga, on the Cool website, we have a whole host of yoga resources. Alex Del Castillo is a teacher here at Ocean Bay Middle School in Horry County. And every Wednesday, he releases Wind Down Wednesday, which is a free online yoga session. All of those are recorded, and they're done live on Instagram. So if you're not following the SCEA on Instagram or TikTok, you should head over there now, search for the SCEA, and follow us. And then those videos get posted. All those videos get posted to the website under the Wellness tab on the website. There's a yoga resource page, and then there's other types of yoga sessions below that. Coming up on November 6th, we have Erica Ayers. She's going to be talking about supporting student health. We talk a lot about educator health, but she's going to tell us how we can support our students being healthy. And if you've read any of the data and information about student health, it's pretty alarming. Coming up, every Tuesday and Thursday night, in fact, it's going on for another 7 minutes, is Cool Coaching. It's free. It's online. It's one-to-one. It is your support if you are an induction teacher with Angie Brush, Stephanie Johnson, and Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder. Happens every Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 8 o'clock, and it's free. Why would you not? If you have a question, you have a concern, you don't want to go to someone at your school, you'd like somebody who's sort of unbiased, get some unfiltered, raw feedback from a veteran educator, go to cool.us/coaching. It's free. Give that a shot. Tomorrow is Black Friday. I want to remind everybody, we've heard a couple of people, it's like it's Spirit Day and I can't wear black. Well, if you can wear anything that's black, a hat, a scarf, anything, that's fine. Or if you want to wear black on another day and post your picture on Friday to show your solidarity, feel free to do that. All you have to do is post a picture or a video with you wearing black, and then talk about what it is that you believe in. Why are you standing up for public schools? Maybe you're against book bans. Maybe you're against these school vouchers. Maybe you want to tell people who they should vote for. And then use the hashtag Black Friday SC. Along those lines, we're going to have a conversation with Barbie Ross about being a building rep on November 13th at 7 o'clock. And we have another episode of Cool Beans, our induction teacher show with Angelica McDonald and the wonderful and talented Dr. Marcella Wine-Snyder. That's going to be on November 20th at 6 o'clock. We're going to talk about cell phones. I do want to send just another reminder to you. If you are in Horry County and, Odie, how's it going? Said Mr. Scholl, 2010 Teacher of the Year. Awesome human being. Keep changing the world. We need you. Hope you're doing well, man. That was a really fun class. So he was a part of, we created a hip hop class at Carolina Forest High School. It was called Pass the Mic. And we got turntables and a sound system and a bunch of computers with software to make music. And the students created original hip hop music. And then we went around to festivals in the middle schools and performed it. And we had dancers and everything. It was really fun. If you're interested in learning more about how to set that up at your school, you can reach out to me, toddscholl@gmail.com. That was a really fun class and a fun year. So thank you so much for reaching out. But as I was saying, if you're in Horry County this Saturday, go on over to the Carolina Forest, the Horry County Library on Carolina Forest Boulevard. Wear red, and you can, it starts at 10 o'clock, and you can vote with us and then go over to Tavern in the Forest afterwards, and we'll for brunch, and it's going to be covered by the SCEA. So vote and eat and hang out with some cool people. And Horry County is recommending Michelle Green for Horry County School Board District 9 and Dale Ricketts for District 11. And if you're in Greenville County on Saturday, they're also having a very similar event, also at 10 o'clock. This one's at McAllister Square at 225 South Pleasantburg. Just meet in the parking lot, go vote and hang out. And the Greenville County Education Association recommends Angie Mosley for Area 21, Glenda Chapman Morrison Fair for Area 23, Michelle Calwile for 25, and Missy Marsh for Area 27. Whatever you do, whether it's early or on November 5th, please make sure to vote. And the SCEA has pulled together an incredible resource for you. All the recommendations that the SCEA is making is available on this website, thescea.org/votes. You can find out everything you need to know about voting on that website. Caleb Mickler, our communications director, and some folks have pulled together this incredible resource for you to help you as you go out. If you're wondering who you should vote for, because there's some of these, we all kind of know who we're voting for president. Let's just be honest about that. I mean, if you're undecided at this point, I don't. You can call me, because I can't figure out how anybody's like, oh, I'm not sure. Should I Kamala or Donald? Like, I mean, I think most people know, but like in some of these races where like school board or some local election stuff, sometimes you go in and you're like, I don't really know. Well, this website will tell you who the pro public education folks are that we recommend. And so it's a really great resource. You can bookmark it. When you're ready to vote, just check it out. It's the scea.org/votes. Really, really great resource. And thanks to Caleb and everybody else who's helped put that together. Well, I want to thank again Audrey Calianos for her information tonight. And the last thing I want to say is this: if you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with a mental health issue, there's just should be no stigma around that. It's just like if you have strep throat or you have a hurt back, you go to the doctor, you get it taken care of, and you find out what it is that you need to be well. Mental health is the same way. If you're depressed, you're anxious, you have some type of mental health issue, go to the doctor, get it checked out. Maybe they're going to do blood work and find out there's some deficiencies there. Maybe you're going to go to a psychiatrist and they can help you with a medication or therapy, or maybe there's some other modalities that you can use to support your mental health and feel a heck of a lot better. Um, but it's important that you reach out for help when you need it. So we want to encourage all, especially educators out there struggling with mental health. A lot of us stressed out. I know when I was teaching, there were many days and years when I was overwhelmed and anxious, and it really took a toll on my mental health. And it's important for us to take care of ourselves. And if you're worried about your students, well, your students need a healthy you to be there. They need the best version of you. So if you're concerned about them, taking care of ourselves is one of the best ways we can take care of our students. So you deserve it. You deserve to be well, and I hope that you will reach out and get the support that you need, no matter what the health issue is. And Cool's here to help support you. Our mission is to improve the inner and outer lives of educators, and we do that through live streams like this and through the various resources that we provide. And you can go to cool.us, whole host of resources there to help you on your wellness journey, to help you develop and cultivate your craft as an educator. Check it out, cool.us, and let your friends know about it. Again, thanks so much for tuning in tonight. I'll thank Marcel and everybody else who tuned in. And we will see you on November 6th with Erica Ayers. Until then,